Halfway through the second season's 5th episode, we get the wildest magical dreams served to Prince Daemon Targaryen yet. For the first time in the prequel, we get a look at King Viserys and older brother Daemon's mother, the Princess Alyssa Targaryen. Their father Balon, who for a while was heir to the Iron Throne, has been mentioned before in the show, but Alyssa gets a full-blown actress cast and sets the bar a little higher for incest in this crazy family. Not only is she his mother, but also his aunt. That's how insane their family tree is. She's a very minor character in the family's lore explored in the book Fire and Blood, who died 45 years prior. But she does give us insight on how Daemon could be so wild in comparison to the mild-mannered Viserys. Unless the painters in this world are amazing at portraits, Daemon would have no clue how his mother looked like. She died when he was 2 years old, birthing the youngest of the brothers, a baby named Aegon, who didn't live long past Alyssa's death, a common theme for the Targaryen royals. I'm not sure Daemon knew this was his mother until the very end of the dream. The pale-skinned, blonde-haired character whispers Daemon's name, tells him he was always the strong one, the finest swordsman, the fearless dragon rider. Reinforces his beliefs that King Viserys had great love in his heart, but lacked his constitution, then saying Viserys was unsuited for the crown, but Daemon was made to wear it, if only he had been born first. Then dropping the bomb to all unaware viewers, calling Daemon her favorite son, all the while being in bed together, which even visibly disturbs Daemon after how sexual things just were. Until we have a full grasp of these magical dreams in Harrenhal, we can't dismiss the visions as simply Daemon's deepest thoughts. Alyssa is also wild incarnate. These actions may have crossed her boundaries, but the words she shared to Daemon are within her character. Both Balon and Alyssa were born of incest. Their parents, the Old King, Jaehaerys and Alicent, also siblings. 3 years after Balon the Brave was born, came little sister Alyssa. Alyssa proved to be a lively, healthy child. As a babe, she was so like her sister Daenerys that the queen oft wept to behold her, remembering the child she had lost. The likeness faded as the princess grew older, however. Long-faced and skinny, Alyssa had little of her sister's beauty. Her hair was a dirty blonde tangle with no hint of silver to evoke the dragon lords of old, and she had been born with mismatched eyes, one violet, the other starling green. Her ears were too big, and her smile lopsided. And when she was 6, playing in the yard, a whack across the face from a wooden sword broke her nose. It healed crooked, but Alyssa did not seem to care. By that age, her mother had come to realize that it was not Daenerys she took after, but Balon. I tend to describe Alyssa as the Targaryen version of Arya Stark, a noble, too wild for their own good. The princess did not act like a girl. She wore boys' clothes when she could, shunned the company of other girls, preferred riding and climbing and dueling with wooden swords to sewing and reading and singing. In 75 AC, the Red Keep was the site of another splendid wedding, as the Spring Prince took to bride the eldest of his sisters, Princess Alyssa. The bride was 15, the groom 18. Unlike their father and mother, Balon and Alyssa did not wait to consummate their union. The betting that followed their wedding feast was a source of much ribald humor in the days that followed. For the young bride's sounds of pleasure could be heard all the way to Duskendale, men said. A Shire maid might have been abashed by that. But Alyssa Targaryen was as bawdy as a wench, as any barmaid in King's Landing, as she herself was fond of boasting. I mounted him and took him for a ride, she declared the morning after the betting. And I mean to do the same tonight. I love to ride. Nor was her brave prince the only mount the princess was to claim that year. Like her brothers before her, Alyssa meant to be a dragon rider, and sooner rather than later. Aemon had flown at 17, Balon at 16. Alyssa meant to do it at 15. According to the tales set down by dragon keepers, it was all they could do to persuade her not to claim Balerion. He is old and slow, princess, they had to tell her. Surely you want a swifter mount. In the end, they prevailed, and Princess Alyssa ascended into the sky upon Meleys, a splendid scarlet she-dragon never before ridden. Red maidens, the two of us, the princess boasted, but now we've both been mounted. This episode also gave us a little moment with Rhaenyra and Baela talking about Meleys and how Daemon had an interest in this red beast, but she wouldn't have him, so he went for Caraxes. In 77 AC, 2 years after the marriage, Alyssa gave birth to Viserys. 4 years after Viserys came Daemon, the rogue prince. Their mother, being stubborn and maybe slightly insane, had a habit of taking her newborns flying with her atop Meleys. This is where Daemon gets all his crazy from. Almost all of Jaehaerys and Alicent's children had a serious case of rebellion in them. 2 years later, Alyssa births a 3rd child. They would name Aegon. Her brother husband, Balon, sees she's not in the best shape after the labor and says, "You are far braver than me. I would sooner fight a dozen battles than do what you've just done." Alyssa laughed at him. "You were made for battles, and I was made for this." Viserys and Daemon and Aegon, that's 3. As soon as I am well, let's make another. I want to give you 20 sons, an army of your own. It wasn't meant to be. Alyssa Targaryen had a warrior's heart in a woman's body, and her strength failed her. She never fully recovered from Aegon's birth and died within the year at only 24. Nor did Prince Aegon long survive her. He perished half a year later. Shattered by her loss, Balon took solace in the 2 strong sons that she had left him, Viserys and Daemon, and never ceased to honor the memory of his late princess. For the next 17 years, Balon raised his 2 boys as a single father, for himself dying of something like a burst appendix. The books just call it a stitch in his side. Balon and the rest of the Targaryens, and even characters at core, would definitely remind Daemon how much he resembles his late mother, despite having no memories of her. I'm not convinced he knew who she was in this disturbing dream. And if she never got to see her boys grow up, how would she know Daemon was more suited than Viserys? Was it truly Princess Alyssa Targaryen in Daemon's dream, speaking to the old gods in the weirwood, reciting something she may have said 45 years ago? These therapeutic visions are likely Alice Rivers messing with Daemon's head, manipulating him. The concoctions she's been making are this world's equivalent to potions, and she's believed to be a witch with the ability to see visions as well, getting a glimpse of Daemon's dreams too. And now she's making the rogue prince confuse dream and reality, while depending on her for answers and rest. Alice Rivers is playing the Game of Thrones. It's just too soon to see her end goal.